All right, you guys, welcome to another episode of the Sexy Mystics. I'm Jen.
And I'm Jess.
We're excited to be here tonight. And if you are new to our channel, we would love for you to subscribe. We are going to be bringing you all the juicy details every single week of the feminine rising and having us women be a part of this divine rising where we honor ourselves as the feminine and we honor the masculine as well. And so, anyway, if you're new, please subscribe, please like, please share this video, and we are going to get on with our topic tonight. So, something that Jess and we were tossing up is around waiting for sex and saying no to be able to say yes to an ultimate experience. And it was funny because this morning I was listening to Joe Dispenza. I don't know if any of you who are listening are Joe Dispenza fans, but I was listening to Joe and I got this quote from him, and it says, "Knowledge is a precursor to experience." And really, our lives are really about experience and having these epic moments where we are able to grow and expand our awareness, expand our lives. And the knowledge around what Jess and I have both learned through our own experiences of saying no so that we could have an ultimate yes has been really profound. And I was just actually reading on Facebook too, where this woman is really struggling with, she's going through a divorce and struggling with not having that intimacy anymore on a regular basis. And what do I do? Do I, go out with and do casual sex on a regular basis? Or do I figure out a way to get around this as I go through this process? And I think that there's a lot of people in the process of life where sex isn't readily available, and so we're all struggling with what's the right thing to do. How do I approach this? I don't want to have multiple casual sexual partners, but at the same time, I have needs that need to be fulfilled. And so anyway, Jess and I have had a lot of experience in this. And so we wanted to share about this tonight. So anyway, what do you have, Jess?
Oh my gosh, I am so tickled and also slightly nervous about this topic.
I know.
we're,
Hopefully members watch this one, right?
oh my gosh, yeah, like we're definitely putting ourselves out there, and that's one of the beautiful things about being committed to sharing messages and being vulnerable and showing our femininity, on our feminine side. I think that it's a conversation that should be had and needs to be had with everyone. And there's a lot of kind of in the background, in the closet, literally in the dark, that's happening. So to kind of expose it, bring some light to it, and all that, and levity, sex is really fun. It can be a lot of things. It can be many, many things and have a lot of different meanings. And Jen and I have had many different experiences, both positive and deep lessons, really deep lessons. And so it's great to have this conversation. But Jen and I have been so in tune, or getting more in tune, I should say, with our intuition and following the signs and paying attention and listening. And what's been really, really beautiful is that we've had some really incredible experiences because, one, we've been doing the work, we've been working on ourselves. Two, we've been healing our own traumas and pains of what's happened in our life. Three, we've been doing our self-development, our self-growth. Four, we've been listening to our intuition and trusting our own instincts, which is so important. And fifth, it's really led us to some really, really beautiful experiences in all realms of our life. But in this episode, we're going to talk especially about how it helped us have epic experiences in sex.
Yeah. So here's the thing too that I was thinking about, Jess, when you were talking. I think that so many of us in our day and age, sex is an integral part of our experience and of our well-being, and even it's even a path to wealth. And we can even do a show on that at some point. But our sexual energy, especially as women, ladies, our sexual energy is our power center. So when we are in tune and in touch with our power center, we become very powerful and magnetic beings. But so many of us, because of sexual trauma, because of not, sexual shaming and guilt and religious stuff and all of this stuff that comes up around sexuality, we deny ourselves oftentimes. And I know I spent almost a lifetime so far of denying myself just because of this shame and guilt and judgment around sexuality and the religion that I grew up in. And so, anyway, it's been a really interesting process to allow myself to let go of the religious aspect of sexuality and to explore it from a different perspective. And it's been an interesting journey to saying no to certain experiences so that I could say yes to really amazing and epic ones. And when we say no to, the things that come our way, this is where intuition comes into play, is when we have this opportunity to say yes, but it doesn't feel right. It's not an aligned yes. So what it would be having sex for the sake of having sex to fulfill a need that you have in that very moment. And when you do that, you damage your own ability to, first of all, discern, and to, that weakens your power center. Because when a woman is penetrated without really being aligned, then it knocks off her ability to connect with that power center. So it's really a balancing act that you've got to tune into yourself and know when it's time to say yes and know when it's time to say no.
Yeah, absolutely. And that discernment is, like Jen said, is such a key piece and such a key component, and that key component, and that takes time. It takes time. But I think even more important for me right now, as I'm reflecting on what Jen said, is the power of saying no. And how many times have we been in a situation? I'm right here, two hands. I've totally been there where not in the mood, didn't feel right, was uncomfortable, but led too far. Got to a point, what do I say? Like, how do I cared more about their feelings than honoring my own. And that doesn't have to be specifically to sex. It can be many things in life where, in that moment where it was so much more important to honor myself and honor my truth. And instead I acquiesced because I cared more about not hurting their feelings. And at the end of the day, that takes away your power. There's so much power in saying no. And Jen and I both have had several opportunities to have said yes to people that may have had like a momentary gratification. It maybe would have been a decent night, or whatever. Um, and we won't know because we said no to it. But holding out and listening to our truth and following it led us to opportunities that neither of us planned. We didn't have in mind. We had no idea how that could possibly happen, and yet it all led to the way that it did. And that has been very confirming for me. And then Jen herself, that that honoring ourselves, listening to our truths, following our intuition, and not to say it pays off, but it led to a really epic experience. But let's talk about Jen for a minute. What's have you been in those situations where you've wanted to say no and you haven't? Like, you kind of like let things go through. Have you had that experience?
I have, and over the last 4 years, I've had a lot of stuff around sexuality. So I had to do a lot of healing work in this area. So if you've ever experienced any sort of sexual trauma or sexual shaming or guilting around anything like that, like religion, shaming, all of that stuff, if you've experienced that, then chances are you've closed down your ability to receive pleasure, no matter what. No matter how much you want sex or how much you feel like you want it, there's an element to your anatomy that you've closed down. And so that's what I had done. I closed down my expression there because of the shame and guilt and trauma and all of that stuff that I had You're saying, talking about sexual trauma and talking about shame and guilt and all these things around our own sexuality that cause us to make decisions that shut us down, essentially, in expressing ourselves in that area. Well, here's the thing: when you're not expressing yourself in that area, you're not expressing the real juice of life. The real juice of life is sexual expression. And so in our religions, they teach us that that's a bad thing, and you only do this inside the context of a marriage and man and wife. And I can see some aspect of how that would be protective, because of pregnancies and stuff like that. And it is an emotionally bonding thing. And like Alison Armstrong, if you guys have ever heard of her, she talks about it. For women, especially because of the hormone release whenever we orgasm, we are attached to the man that we have sex with at least 3 weeks emotionally, because of the the, the oxytocin and stuff like that that is released. And so I can see to an extent why there was restriction around expressing yourself sexually. However, what we have to come to a realization of now is putting our religion aside, putting all of that aside, and starting to really see it for what it is, and honoring it within ourselves for what it is, so that we can have better experiences, more healthy, more holistic experiences around our sexual expression. Because, like I was saying earlier, sexual expression is our power center. Our womb space is the space that we create from. So we create life there, but we also create businesses, we create marriages, we create all sorts of things from this place. And so when that place is whole and healthy and aligned and spinning right, then we really align ourselves with an amazing life and lifestyle.
Yes, coming from our sexual expression for sure. And to add to what Jen said, a therapist that I worked with years ago, she said that when we have sex with a man, energetically we're attached for 7 years. So I don't know if that's true or not, but man, did that give me second thoughts many times. Because I'm like, okay, is this someone's energy that I want with me and carry with me for years to come? And more often than not, it was a no. So that made the decision much easier, which is great. But I'd love to just share a little bit. So my last partner, when Jen was talking about sexual trauma and stuff, my last partner that I was with, he noticed that I would be in the moment with him and then I'd be gone. I would just be not present, and he'd be like, "Hello, where are you? Come back to Earth." And um, and it was because of trauma that I'd had when I don't know when it happened exactly. I've done a lot of healing around it, but it caused me to be in that deepest moment of intimacy to just be gone, and yet there was such a deep desire for me to connect sexually, because I understood the concept that it's possible to connect to the divine. That was why it was created in the first place. If for those of you who are spiritual, that was how people were able to connect to the divine, was in that orgasmic state, and that's studied through tantra and all kinds of other different disciplines. So I knew that it was possible. I just couldn't experience it. I couldn't access it, and it was really frustrating. It takes not only one person but the partner as well to be willing to go to those depths and those levels and everything like that. So that to me has been really present and very intriguing for me, because I think so much of our society is just based on sex to be either to get something, to give something, obviously to procreate and help our population, and then a lot of times it's just for the pleasure and the gratification, but it can be so much more, and so much more powerful. And that's what I've been told, at least. I'm still finding my way there. But what do you think, Jen?
Yeah, I think you and I both are calling in partners to explore this on a deeper level, explore the tantric, and explore the connection to our heart chakra and opening those spaces
Yeah.
that can only be opened through true intimacy and open and vulnerability. And so one of the things that you were saying, Jess, whenever you're talking about your last partner and your last, consistent partner that you had, he would say, I'm checking out, And how many of us do that? Like, how many of us are in a relationship with a man and we are, divinely connecting, through sex, and we check out because either our minds take over or we are starting to go into our patterns of guilt, of shame, of thinking, of should I be doing this? Is he enjoying this? All of these things start to come up, and really, what we have to get to a point of is that we're responsible for our own pleasure. So he's responsible for his own pleasure, and you're responsible for your own pleasure. So worrying about, and this is not selfish, but worrying about whether or not he's experiencing pleasure or not is not your job. It's not your problem. It's really about you coming to a complete embodiment of your own self and your own body and just enjoying it for what it is for you. And when you enjoy it, I guarantee that he will enjoy it. Like men respond differently to women than women do to sex. And so men, when they see you taking pleasure in it, they're automatically pleased by that. And so anyway, I think that a lot of women are so concerned about the external things happening while having sex that they're not able to engage in it fully and explore and experience and have multiple orgasms and have these emotions come up, because sex can really be an emotional release as well. We're talking about cervical orgasm. Whenever you have cervical orgasm, like that is the direct connection to your heart chakra, and that really opens up that space and helps you just really experience it on another level. And so many of us are so divorced from that we can't even get to those types of orgasms. And so we're settling either for no orgasm, or we're settling for clitoral orgasm, which those are fun and nice, but the other ones are much deeper and much more expansive for our own spiritual growth.
Yeah, and Jen and I have both been following different sexual leaders in that field. Kim Anami, Layla Martin. There's so many really great ones. Those are just two that I was really drawn to over the last couple of years. And what's beautiful about that is that I was led to them because of my frustration of not being present, of wanting something deeper. And that's why I love so much, and I have so much gratitude and appreciation for everything that's happened leading up to those things. I think that's one of the most beautiful parts of self-exploration and having commitment to developing ourselves on a deeper level, is that we do go out and seek the help of people who've been there and who've experienced all of that and have been able to heal through their traumas and everything. And those are all absolutely possible. You can absolutely have tremendous breakthroughs. Jen and I have both done yoni or jade egg practices that have been very, very transformative. And one of the biggest things too, like Jen said, is that we're responsible for our pleasure. And one of the best ways to do that is to be doing that on our own, in our free time, in our free space, in a loving environment, creating those opportunities for ourselves to experience things on a deeper level, so that in those moments that we are with a partner, we can take it to a deeper level. But it does start with us, and I think too, when women come into the bedroom, we are seeking healing. We are seeking some kind of deeper connection and higher ascension in a way. And we have a lot of times we can have different intentions than our partners when we show up in bed. So the more that we can come as a whole person into any situation, into any relationship, particularly in the bedroom, and being able to express our needs, our desires. That was one of my biggest challenges was not only knowing when to say no, but to be able to express what I wanted, and what felt good to me. And from my experience, men are so eager. They're so eager to please. They're so eager to help you feel good. But it's important, if we don't know it, if we don't know what feels good for us, then it makes it that much more challenging for the partner.
It also goes back to honoring men, honoring your masculine partner. So, one of the reasons why that Jess and I are doing this series and really stepping out in our voice in this area with the feminine rising, a lot of times what we see is that as the feminine rises, then there's an emasculation of men, meaning that men are cut down or they're devalued for the fact that nowadays, let's face it, women can provide for their own needs. So they don't need to be in a marriage anymore for the sake of financial security. They don't need to be in certain types of relationships. They don't have to stick them out anymore. So there's a shift that's taking place. But sometimes as the shift takes place, then we see a lot of like imbalances as the shift is in the process. And so, the imbalance that we see is this emasculation of men and men not knowing their voice and where they really fit in. And like, who am I now that I'm not needed in that way anymore? So when it comes to sexuality or just in men in general, they have to be needed. They have to feel like they're needed. And so we as women, it's not a weakness for us to express need to our partner, to a man. It is not a weakness for that to happen. And when we don't express our needs and when we act like we don't need them for anything, then that's emasculating them and it's taking away their ability to express themselves to us and really fulfill what it is that we desire. So all of us have needs, both male and female. And the reason why there is the male and female aspect of us is because, or masculine and feminine, I should say. I should not say male and female. It's actually masculine and feminine. The masculine and feminine energies are here to be a counterbalance to each other. And so when we are not honoring what the balance is, what the masculine is and what the feminine is, then we are not honoring the relationship. And when we don't honor the relationship, then we don't have a fulfilling one. We are missing things. And that's whenever things go sideways. That's whenever cheating happens. That's whenever divorce happens. That's whenever all of these things begin to take place. And it's about us really honoring not only our own bodies, but what does he need from us to know that we are okay and safe. Like for me, when I'm entering into the sexual space, like I have to know that I'm safe and I have to trust, like completely trust. Otherwise I can't. And so that's a huge thing for me. Not everybody's the same. We're all ticking differently. But, that's my own personal need and desire. So for me to be fully open, that has to be there. So for a man, then I have to express that to him in some way, whether it be verbally or through my interaction with him, whatever. So, let you go over, Jess.
It's a whole new ball game, this last year. I think for me, definitely, it's been a new ball game of how to show up, of how to speak my truth, how to be comfortable in my own skin, and I really I'm proud of that work that I've done, that development. To Jen's point, it is important to not emasculate the man and to honor him and understand his needs as well. And it's great to have communication. One of the things that Kim Anami suggests is having sex every day for 30 days with your partner, every single day. And I think it's at least once or twice a week having a 3-hour date, like sex date in bed. And I was so excited by that prospect and opportunity because I knew that there would be some really deep intimacy, but it wasn't something that my partner at the time was interested in. that's a really big commitment. Uh, you know, even though it's fun, or, you know, pushing through those barriers and getting through the communication, everything like that, you know, there's so important to have a partner that's committed to having the growth and development as well. And when it goes one-sided, you know, this is what starts to happen.
Yeah.
And that is challenging. That's a strain for both partners. Recognizing that there is a distraction, that there's a difference occurring, and you know, do I play catch up? Do I stay where I'm at? Do I pull back? You know, slow down. And um, so for those of you who have partners and want to go deeper, it's so important to communicate that and to share that, and also what it provides for you. That's one of the things that Alison Armstrong talks about is if there's something that you want from your partner, let them know what it provides for you. You know, not just that you want the trash taken out, but by having the trash taken out, you're providing for me a sense of care, of knowing that you know, it's something that makes me feel good, and that you're watching out for me. You don't want me to be lifting this heavy things, and, you know, whatever it is. That's just one example, but you know, when you're able to explain what it provides for you, then it gives them the opportunity to rise up. And men want to win. You know, men play for points, and it's just like a video game. You know, so the more points we can give them, the more that they're going to show up, and the more that they're going to want to contribute. That's what I've read and experienced for myself. They want to win.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. The aspect of like what Alison Armstrong teaches whenever it comes to relationships with men. You know, I hear a lot of women, they complain about how the man that they're with doesn't want to talk about their feelings, their emotions, and all of these things. And it's really because they're going about it the wrong way. So with men, their thinking is way back here, and their communication, their verbalization is up here. I think it's that way. If it's not, it's the opposite. But anyway, it has to travel from when they think about something, a feeling, emotion, something like that. It has to travel from way back here all the way up here to be able to verbalize it. So women are, we have a completely different structure in our brain, and our hemispheres are connected. And so there's no traveling going on. It's just all interconnected, you know? So we can express ourselves like that emotionally, because our emotions and our expression are so closely related in our brain and so closely wired together. So one of the things that Alison Armstrong talks about is giving the man a moment to get his thoughts together so that he can then express himself. But how many of us women begin to just overbear and talk and say, why can't you just express yourself? And then he's like, shuts down because he feels inadequate or whatever. So it's really a process of honoring that within your, like knowing what the masculine is all about and just honoring the masculine. When you do that, ladies, you're going to have such an amazing relationship. You're going to have such an amazing experience, both not only sexually, but just in your every day-to-day life. You know, there's so many people out there complaining about their relationships breaking up and all of that. And so much of that could be prevented if it was just, if we knew how to honor and communicate with one another and just honor the people, or, you know, the people that we are, honor who a man is and what his needs are, and us honoring our own selves in being able to express and communicate what it is that we want and what it is that we're here for, you know. And whenever it comes to sex, that is it's a huge area for us to be able to express what it is that we want. And, you know, and it's an unfolding process, you know. It doesn't have to happen the first time, you know. It's a process of exploration. And whenever you make it into a game like that, where it is exploration and it is something that it's fun and you're uncovering it and you're exploring it and you make it an adventure, then you can make it into something that's a really amazing thing for both people, instead of a chore, or instead of a thing you've got to do, or, you know, feeling this way, so let me go fulfill this need and just get it over with kind of stuff. That's not what it's about. It's not about getting it over with. It's really about connecting on such a deeper level so that so that you can heal. Like sexual energy is healing energy as well. Not only does it expand you and give you opportunity for greatness and creating amazing things, it's healing as well. So when we can use this to heal our bodies, heal our emotions, then we have such a richer life.
So true, Jen. And I have a little Alison Armstrong exercise that we can tell everyone to try out at the end. One of the things I was thinking of is the most important thing that you can do is to be really honest with what you want and what you want for yourself, what you want for your partner and your relationship, whatever it is, to be really, really clear and radically honest about it. It can be scary, it can be challenging. There's such an unknown about that and something so vulnerable, but there is tremendous power in it. And I've had multiple examples, particularly with men, of practicing being radically honest. And it's had some really, really beautiful effects. And I'm so appreciative of it because it cut out the BS really fast. That maybe in the past I would have danced around it or maybe tried to say something a little bit differently, whatever. Don't want to hurt any feelings. Want to make sure they like me. To be radically honest. And it's had a really amazing response for me. And so if you're not ready to express yourself verbally about what you want, start writing it down. Start writing down, like, really, what do you want to experience sexually? What do you really want to experience in your relationship? What do you really want to experience in your day-to-day, whatever it is? But we're really tuning in and being honest, because again, when we aren't honest with ourselves, it creates chaos and confusion. And I can speak very, very well to that. That when I wasn't honest with myself, that the universe didn't know what to provide for me, my relationships didn't know what to provide for me, I even didn't know what to provide for myself, and I was kind of spinning all these different plates in the air. But there's something really, really beautiful that once I became very clear about what I wanted, and I was very honest about it, everything shifted. Everything moved faster. Intuition picked up because I wasn't fighting it. I wasn't creating confusion. I wasn't having self-doubt. I was very sure of what it was that I wanted and needed in my life. And it changed really quickly. So that's something that it takes courage to do. It's a muscle to build. But I've seen the contrast of when I've been honest and very clear and when I haven't, and the chaos and confusion that it created within myself and within whoever I was speaking with.
So true. And like one of the things that I was thinking about whenever you were talking about that, Jess, is that when you are radically honest and when you get to the point of very clear about what it is that you want, it boils down. This is what it was for me anyway. It boiled down to my own self-love, self-worth, enoughness, and being wanted. So like all of us have triggers that of things. Triggers are things that set us off, and they're made up stuff, usually from our 6-year-old or 7-year-old self, that something happened when we were a kid and we had made an interpretation of this something that happened, and then we still have this 6 or 7-year-old self running the show in our 30s and 40s. And so when that's the situation and we haven't identified this 6 or 7-year-old self step, and we haven't put that 6 and 7-year-old in its proper place and said, okay, you're safe now. You've done your job. You can sit over here. Now it's time for me to be the adult. So when you're doing that, then when you haven't done that, then you're being triggered by things. So I had an interpretation that I wasn't wanted. And don't ask me where it came from. It was just something that my little 4, 5, 6-year-old self made up in my head, that I wasn't wanted. And so that played into everything, played into my relationship with my dad. It played into the relationship with, like, I remember being a little kid and going to the neighbor's house, and the girls at the neighbor's house didn't want me to play with them. So then I'm not wanted. And then, you know, you go through high school and the guy doesn't want to date you and you're not wanted. And like, it's like this self reoccurring confirmation that you're not wanted, but it's you're making it up based upon this belief that you made up when you were like 4 or 5 years old, even younger. And so when that is still driving you, then you're triggered by certain things that come up to like poke at that. Like basically it's just poking at it, saying, hello, it's here, it's a wound, fix it, you know? And see, this is where people miss it because they don't want to go fix their stuff. They don't want to face it. Well, if you're creating a reality that you don't like, then there's a wound there, a trigger that you need to go fix. And so mine was the not wanted thing. And so I went about fixing that and letting my little girl know she was wanted. So that was like a big, huge thing for me. It was like stepping into this unconditional self-love. Nothing in my external world changed. I was at rock bottom. Nothing was changing. Nothing was transforming. But I had to come to this place of I'm wanted, I'm enough, I'm amazing, I love myself unconditionally before my external world started to shift. And when I got to that place, when I hit rock bottom and I still loved myself, so before that I didn't love myself, I was always beating myself up. But when I got to rock bottom and I was like, you know what, it's just time for me to love myself. Like, none of this is real anyway. It's all gonna pass. I'm just going to fall in love with myself exactly as I am, whether I have acne today or not, whether I, whether I'm broke or not, whatever it was, I was just like, I just love myself and I'm wanted. When I fixed that, when I got to that point and I fixed that part of myself, the triggers disappeared. Like all of that stuff disappeared. So a person that was in my life a few years ago triggered all of those things, came back to my life, no, there's no trigger there. It's really fascinating to watch it happen. And it's true for all of us. Like we all have these triggers and we all have to fix them by coming to a place of unconditional self-love. So I'm sure Jess and I will probably do an entire video on that one because that's a whole video topic in and of itself.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I can totally attest, again, bearing witness to Jenn and her path and her growth and the depths that she went to, that she had to, she had to get the lesson. She had to learn it. And she was committed to doing that. And just, again, like she said, her external world didn't change, but she changed internally. And then externally, everything changed. And the same thing has happened for me, and I'm sure thousands and thousands and millions, hopefully, of other people, that the change comes from within. So we change our internal world, and then our external world is a reflection of our internal. Why can't I say that? Internal world. But I completely attest to what Jenn said, and yeah, and it's amazing. I really appreciate when people from our past come back up, because it's a reflection for me to see how I've grown, what's still triggering me, what's still showing up. But I love that Jenn mentioned the inner child. That's what I'm working with this week in my module and my certification that I'm taking, is how I got to come face to face with my little girl today, and she's been having a freaking blast. The last 30 something years she's been, the queen was locked away in the cell in the castle. She's had free reign. No one can tell her no. She can do whatever she wants. And it's so amazing because I know I'm a strong woman. And then when I get triggered, she comes up and she'll throw a pity party. She'll have a temper tantrum. She'll go stomping away. She'll sulk, she'll pout, she'll please, she'll do whatever she can. And so for me to recognize, like Jenn was saying, that I was giving all this power, all these responsibilities to this little kid that just wanted to play dress up. She just wanted to play dress up as a queen. She didn't actually want to be a queen, but I had her, she was playing dress up, and then all of a sudden she was given all these roles and responsibilities that she was not equipped for. and not able to handle. And so it was a really beautiful experience to reconcile that with her, and allow the queen space in me to come and step forward. And I'm looking forward to how those interactions change and how I show up, because as we see how people respond emotionally, so much of it is from when they're a little kid. They're not even aware of it. It just like goes back in. So awareness is so important. That first key step. But I love that, and we're all trying to find our way. So
Yeah.
it's good stuff, Jen. It's good
I
stuff.
know, it's good stuff. So we got the topic of our next two. I think our next two is going to have to be about coming to awareness of self-love and unconditional self-love.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is going to have to be about stepping into our queen.
Ooh, I'm writing it down.
Yeah. Yeah, stepping into our queen, like ladies, it's time for us to rise up into the queens. And there's a difference between being a queen and being a woman who is angry and going to emasculate men and say, I don't need a man, and just be like that hardened person. There's a difference between that and a queen. A queen is a woman who is fully embodying her femininity and her sexuality and her awesomeness, and also realizing that there is a need and a place for the masculine within her life, and that giving and that receiving and that flow back and forth is really the juice of life. And so that is going to be an amazing topic.
Oh man, it's gonna be super juicy. I love that. And ladies, I've been the super independent. I can handle it. I can carry my own bags. I can open my own doors. I can schlep through blah blah blah. I can do all that. And it has been so nice to allow men to help, to allow them, the opportunity to feel they can provide something for us, that they can take a burden off of us. And I really enjoyed that. And it's actually funny now, like if I actually kind of expect a man to open my car door for me, because it allows me to be to be feminine. And we all have our different versions and definitions, and I'm certainly not trying to make anything antiquated or stereotypical. But there's something very lovely about being able to show up as a woman and to be powerful in my presence without it being overbearing, without it pushing down on the power within others. It's really beautiful. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing that episode, Jen. I think that would be really great. So I know Jen and I have talked quite a bit about a lot of things tonight. What it really comes down to, like we said, is being honest with what we want and with our desires, having the willingness to go there with our partners. And honesty goes both ways, right? So, when we share something, we should be willing and accepting of what their desires are, our partner's desires. I do have an exercise to offer, but Jen, I didn't know if there's anything you wanted to add before I offer the exercise.
No, go right ahead. Go for it.
Okay. So I'm so glad that Jen brought up Alison Armstrong. She's so delightful. She's been studying men for decades, and she thinks that they're delightful human beings. And and we could do a whole episode just about Alison Armstrong work. She's so fantastic. But one of my favorite things that has been a huge game changer for me, ladies, is when Jen was saying that the men have to really think. Alison Armstrong talks about when you ask a man a question, women are like so top of mind, they can like just jump in on the answer. But men, it's like, imagine that they have to go down to the well, like put the bucket down all the way down to the well, and bring the bucket slowly back up to the well. They need that kind of time to think. So what do? Right? So we say, how was your day? And we're 10 seconds. So was it good, was it bad? And well, what about this? We keep asking more questions, and it overwhelms them and they shut down. Whereas ask the question and then put imaginary duct tape over your mouth and hold it there until they respond. And that might take 2 minutes, and that might be the most torturous 2 minutes of your life, so to speak. But giving them the space to really think, they really like to take the time to think things through. They're very careful about what they say. And it's been so lovely. And so then when they're speaking and they're sharing about their day, don't jump in and ask another question. Wait 30 seconds, and then a minute, and then 2 minutes. Literally wait until they say, I'm done, or until they ask you a question. That has been such a fantastic and fun exercise to do. And what's really amazing is that when we keep our mouths closed and create this space and allow them to share, they share so much. They say so many things that we weren't prepared for. We weren't even asking, but we just let the space be. And so that is my offering to you this week. If you have a partner, a friend, a sibling, anybody, just ask a man a question and wait for their response, and then wait until they're completely done. And I've seen it, like, have you seen that, Jen, where you're just about to respond and then they start talking again? I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna stay quiet. And it's a really beautiful thing. And then you know what? They feel heard. They don't feel coaxed. They don't feel goaded. They don't feel like they've been given multiple choices that they have to choose from. They feel that they were listened to and that they were really allowed to share their feelings and their thoughts. It's really, really cool. So that's my invitation.
I think a word comes to mind too is that they feel honored, and that's a huge one for men, is to feel honored, So we can have everything we want, and it's not that hard. And relationships, it's just about learning, it's just about learning. And like Jess and I, we have both dove in so many different modalities of healing and learning. I mean, golly, we've dedicated hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, Jess is right now in Ecuador, just on a whim, just like, I've got to go here and know that I'm being drawn here for healing. We've done plant medicine, we've done a lot of different energy work with different energy healers, and we have dove in and we've done the work and read the books and gone to the seminars and just all of these things. And it's all for a purpose. Purpose is for higher consciousness and awareness. And if we can begin to fix our relationships, then other things outside of the relationships will begin to shift. Your kids will be better. They'll be happier. They'll be more subtle. You'll be more subtle. The stress goes down. It just creates a better place for all of us to live when we really understand one another and we really work to understand one another. And we really work to understand our own selves. How many of us do not understand our own selves? And we're just existing in this constant cycle of, why is this happening to me again? Yet there's a reason, and it's because you haven't healed an inner trigger. And so it's going to keep happening until you heal the inner trigger. You've heard it before, where you get out of a relationship and you attract a new person in, and it's the exact same person, just a different body. Well, the reason why is because you haven't healed the triggers. You haven't healed the stuff on the inside first. And until you do that, you're not going to vibrate on a higher level to attract that higher level of vibration of person in. So anyway, I think that we've gone long enough on this one. So we had a lot to say tonight.
Of course we did. And that was wonderful. Thank you, Jen.
You're welcome.
Mm.
So to wrap it up, you guys, if you enjoyed this, please give us a thumbs up. Please comment, share, subscribe to our channel. We are going to be producing a new episode each and every week to bring you some of our own learnings to help you on your path and your journey of becoming divinely feminine and a queen on your own path.
I love that. Yes. And you are certainly welcome to write us at thesexymystics@gmail.com. And we are so loving just communicating and connecting with all of you. And just a reminder, we're not professionals. We're not doctors, I should say. We're professionals. We're just not doctor professional. But we've done a lot on our journeys, and we just love to share. And everything is an invitation and an offering. It's certainly not anything that you're required or obligated to do, but we are committed to helping all of you who want to have a more beautiful, fully self-expressed, radically honest, epically beautiful life. So until next time, thank you so much.
All right, thanks, guys.